Coaches, this is the first part of a roundtable discussion that I did with Coach Jamie Cousins of West Hancock High School in Illinois, Coach Ryan Osborn of Carmel High School in Indiana, Coach Eric Gaff of South Bend St. Joseph High School in Indiana, Coach Mark Johnson, retired Indiana high school basketball coach, and Coach Jake Nannen of Elkhorn South High School in Nebraska.
All right, guys, let's dive right into it. I've got a couple coaches from Indiana, a couple coaches from Illinois, and one from Nebraska. Coaches, how are we doing tonight?
Good. Well.
Awesome. Let's dive right into the first topic. I think the NFHS has approved the shot clock. Now it's just up to the states. As it stands right now, I don't think any of our states have the shot clock. Should all high school associations implement a shot clock ASAP? Coach Cousins, right up to you.
Yeah, this is a pretty hot topic in our area for sure. Me personally, I do think a shot clock should be implemented. More for me, just because I think how I would personally like to coach basketball and how the style of play and everything like that. I think if a standard would be 35 seconds, I believe if we're going to do it at the high school level. Our holiday tournament, we do run it here in Macomb. We play here at the Western one. We do run it, and there are very, very few shot clock violations. You'd be surprised, especially for it. So I don't think it's going to affect that much. The biggest thing, as we all know, is just the management and staffing and all the training of running it, right? Especially at the high school level. So it's like pulling teeth to get someone to run a scoreboard some games, especially at the small schools. That would be the biggest thing to figure out before the game itself. I do personally believe that all high school associations should, because there's been a lot of instances, like there's a small 1A school, Pecatonica here, that held the ball. You guys probably all seen it, probably almost viral, where, they held it for the ball for 7.5 minutes of the whole first quarter.
Yep.
It's one of those things, obviously on the counter that, it's like, why aren't you getting a stop, right? But at the same time, when you're holding it for that long, I just think, personally, I do think it should be implemented.
I would agree with that. Coach Osborn, what's your thoughts on shot clock at the high school level?
I would agree. I mean, I think it's hard to paint it with a broad stroke. I don't know everybody's situation at our place, at our level. I mean, I think it's necessary. The skill level of the kids, the pace of the game, and then just like coaching adjustments and real life situations would change. I don't think it would impact a lot of possessions. I think it would impact end of quarter situations, obviously end of game situations. But I think in Indiana, especially at our level, it's time. Like Coach said, there's going to be some challenges in the implementation. Mostly, I think, among the officiating. They not struggle, but there's enough challenges in keeping control of the game, keeping the pace of the game. And then if they have to have conversations with the table about shot clock violations and whether or not they're starting the clock, stopping the clock, I just think it creates a lot more disruption. So it would take some time to implement. But in my opinion, I think it would help us. And I think it's about time that we start exploring.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Gaff, thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just follow suit. I think it's a necessary step for us to continue to grow the game of basketball. I think it only helps improve our players and improve us coaches. I think you have to be a better coach. To Coach Osborne's point, like the end of quarters become a little bit more intense. You're starting to play the clock a little bit more. And I think that as you look at like basketball at a broader scope, like players coming out of places that play under a shot clock, like European kids or international kids, they're playing under a shot clock from like 12 to 14 years old. And so I think they have a better experience. They're understanding the game a little bit better than our guys. And I think it just makes the game a little bit better and gets our guys prepared if they're capable of going to the next level.
Good point. Coach Johnson.
I want this understood that I was coaching when the peach basket was still up. So I'm going to flip this coin to the other side. When you have a shot clock, you're basically saying the best team is going to win because the ball is going up and down the floor. And if you have inferior talent, the only way that you are going to keep the score level is if you're able to utilize clock. Is it good to hold the ball the way North Carolina, used to? The answer is no. But I think if we want to go, is it about the entertainment value or is it about the team winning? And I think that's the one thing when we start talking about shot clock, you're going to end up seeing 9 times out of 10, the best team's going to win. when you have a controlled tempo, all of a sudden there's a lot more to the game. There's a lot more to worry about in coaching than all of a sudden, how many shots. And I would really see a survey, and I don't care what level, what state you're at, how often a team keeps the ball more than 35, 40 seconds per possession. And I think of the Indianapolis, the Mick. That's big boy basketball. And you're not going to have a team go down there and hold the ball. They're going to play. The Northern Indiana Conference, where Eric's at, that's big boy basketball. They're not going to slow the ball down. But when there was single class basketball, and you would have Argus, who was trying to play against South Bend LaSalle, if you didn't utilize clock, which means number of possessions, then you're going to lose by 25. And so I'm going to flip that coin to the other side. Plus, mostly, I would say an awful lot of teams, maybe not in Indianapolis and when you're really, really good, but you're going to have to pay for that person to do the shot clock. That's more that they're going to have to come out with. And there's a lot of people that just don't have the money to be able to afford that. So I'm not real sure how quickly it's going to come.
Very good points, Coach. Coach Nannen, Coach,
I would say yes on all things shot clock. Here in Nebraska, we adopted it about 2 years ago. So I've had the opportunity to coach with a shot clock and without a shot clock. And to some of the points that other coaches have made, it truly doesn't impact the game as much as you would think, but it does change strategy. Like some other coaches mentioned, end of quarters, end of games. And to Coach Mark's point, I could see where he is also thinking about strategy on the other side of that, where to compete, we might need to choose some clock in the possession. So I think overall, it improves your pace of play. I think it improves the flow of the game. And to Eric's point, I think it also does lead to players getting better as the game gets faster in the modern game. So that would be my answer. A lot of you hit on some really good points already. So those are just some extra points I jotted down on my notes.
Perfectly put, Coach. Some things that I thought of as you guys all discussed. Late 1980s, school that I'm familiar with, Flanagan High School, had a 7-foot tall player in Bill Braxick. And they faced in the state championship Lawrenceville, who had Marty Simmons, about 6'7". One would say that the game much different than it was in the late 1980s. But if I just watched this game not too long ago, and if I went back with the stopwatch, they had long drawn out possessions where they're trying to post up Braxick or they're trying to post up Simmons. But I would venture to say that none of those possessions were over 35 or 40 seconds. My point being, I think there's a fine line between burning a minute of clock to close out a game or close out a quarter or hunt a specific basket or try to kill some of the other team's momentum versus killing 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes of game clock to completely prevent your opponent from playing offense. Some coaching things there, though, on the other side, why, and Coach Gaff, you and I discussed this a while back, why not go out and put some more pressure on the ball if they're going to hold it for 8 minutes kind of deal. The logistics and the management of it is going to be difficult. The small school level, trying to find people to work the table in general is difficult. Then the monetary side is difficult. But then a couple of coaches made this point, the high school to college transition, I think that comes with time. Even with the shot clock, the speed between high school and college is vastly different, even if there was a shot clock. I think there will be a shot clock, but I think overall, from state to state or as a national federation in general, there's some other issues at hand that are larger than a shot clock. Next question here. A couple weeks back, Coach Patino, St. John's coach, went pretty viral for his statement that the point guard position is dead. Is that true? Coach Cousins, back up to you.
I think, especially in the newer era of basketball, the definition of point guard has kind of maybe changed. There's always going to be someone you need that can control the game, start an offense, do all that, do the little things, just like simply be that leader on the floor. Now it's, in today's age, we have a lot more 5-out offenses where everyone's playing on the perimeter, right? Like versus a true post. So that kind of changes things because sometimes maybe they're the ones that starting your offense. Like I keep thinking of NBA, which sometimes are bad examples, but Ben Simmons, LeBron James, like those aren't your typical point guards you think of, right? Like they are bigger guys, but they can start offense. Usually at the end of the game, they're the ones that have the ball in their hands and they're looking to get them into some series, some set. Sometimes now even your point guard is your best scorer. Like there's not the true, Rajon Rondos or, any of the smaller point guards that may not have a scoring strength to them anymore. Like I feel like back in the days, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, so I've been a little bit, I guess, on the younger side of going into things, but it's like back in the day, that was kind of the point guard, Point guard is a smaller person that's going to be a pass first and just do that. But now it's kind of changed where, it's more interchangeable. So that's my opinion on that one.
Good point. And were you a point guard in college, Coach?
I played a little 1 through 2. I could not guard a 1 in college. So that was the reason why I didn't play much point guard.
Gotcha. Coach Osborn, your thoughts there?
No, I don't think the position is dead. I mean, I'm more old school oriented. I think they're critical. I think they're an extension of the coach. I think the communication on the floor, the confidence of the rest of the team, getting into actions, controlling the pace of the game on both ends of the floor, defensively, offensively, the head of the snake. We rely on him at a high level. We lost our point guard last year, midway through the year. And we struggled, and maybe that's an indication of what we do. And if we didn't rely on the point guard so much, maybe it wouldn't have impacted us as much. But I would say in most cases around here, if you have a team with 2 solid point guards, you got a pretty good chance to be successful. And so we rely on it pretty heavily. Understanding of the game, communication, extension of the bench. I think it's a critical position for us.
Good points, Coach. Coach Gaff.
Yeah, I think the point guard position will always be a thing. I think sometimes, like as the game develops, there are new names given to old positions. So I've heard, people call, like I have a player that's, really good and he's able to score, so they call him a playmaker, but he still gets my offense started and all that. So I don't think the point guard's ever going anywhere. And as a big guy, it always drove me insane that people would tell me that like point guards are essential for winning in March. And I thought that was like a real knock on bigs. But unfortunately, I think it holds true. The few games that I've won in March always came down to my point guard. So hit to the confidence as a big guy. But yeah, I think point guards are and will always be an important role in the game of basketball.
Good point. Got to give some love to those big guys, right? Coach Johnson.
I think where we're at right now with positionless basketball, to where what we want we want to be able to handle the ball, shoot the ball, defend the ball, rebound the ball. That's good. But you also have to make sure that you have somebody that can bring the ball up the floor. And I think of the great Michael Jordan's team, the Chicago Bulls. Did they have a point guard? Well, they had a small guard, B.J. Armstrong. Was Paxson the point? Was Michael the point? Was Scottie Pippen the point? They all could handle the ball. They all could distribute the ball. They all could defend the ball. And I watch Eric's team play often. I mean, that's my team now. Don't tell that to my brother. He's got an unbelievable point guard. I mean, unbelievable. But he does so much more than just pass the ball. What the coaches said, he leads, he distributes, he talks. And how can anybody disagree with what Rick Pitino says? But without a person who is able to run the team, to me, again, I'm going back to what Eric said, same name, just a different position, or the same position, just a different name. You got somebody who is in control of that team. And 9 times out of 10, that's the person with the ball in his hand. And 9 times out of 10, that's your point guard. I don't see how it could ever be gone.
Very good point. Coach Nannen.
No, the point guard role is not dead. To your point, I think the point guard role has changed a little bit. We've kind of gone from a distributor to more of a creator or playmaker. Nowadays, action is initiated so fast and transition such a big part of the game where I think point guards are becoming more of that creator, playmaker, scorer type, as opposed to the traditional set up our sets, initiate our continuous offense. Whatever the case may be, a lot of those point guard traits are still critical, though. Ball handler, to some of your points, leadership. But nowadays, I mean, especially off of misses, to your point on positionless basketball, so many teams are going to being your own outlet, where half of the game, maybe your traditional point guard isn't actually bringing the ball down the floor and initiating action. So it's certainly changed, I think, specific to the roles of the point guard. But to your guys' point, it will never die. I think it's just changing to be more a dynamic role as the game continues to modernize.
For sure. No, I think what Coach Pitino was alluding at was players in the NBA and the level that they play at. And we're all high school coaches. Maybe have been fortunate enough to coach a star athlete but nobody that's in that 99th percentile. If we have been fortunate enough to coach 99 percentile players, we've probably won 4 straight championships or have thousands of wins under our belt. I know we have a couple of travel AAU coaches here tonight. As a high school coach, are you directing your players to specific AAU or travel teams? In other words, have you built relationships with the local AAU coaches and travel team programs so that you can direct your players there? Coach Cousins, will start back up with you.
Yeah, I just said all the really good ones to myself, I guess, to answer that. But no. So like I said, I started an AU program 2 years ago. I guess kind of to I don't want to sell my AU program over anybody because we're a little less. We're not like a lot of the other ones. We have a lot of multi-sport athletes, which again, that's kind of come back to hurt us on some of those spring weekends. When we have a lot of baseball guys at baseball tournament stuff. We're trying to fight for some numbers, but with our AU program, we have. So I always say, for me being the director, I put in quotes, I'm definitely least experienced. Why I enjoy it so much. So we have Jeff McChristy, who's a D3 assistant coach at Monmouth College, where I went to school. He's my roommate, played with him. And then a guy named Jason Durst, who's been at Hannibal LaGrange University, the head boys coach there for, I'd say 15 years. He's been there for a long time. Small A high school there, just south of Quincy a little bit. They get to experience, so we kind of do different leadership roles. We do different stations, from 15 to 17U. They get to experience a little of different coaching styles throughout. My biggest thing, I only challenge them to get better. I don't sell the college D1 dream. If guys want to come to me and they say, hey, I want to play D1 basketball, I want to play for you, I'm going to say, you're in the wrong place, because I literally just want them to get better and have fun while doing it. And then I listened to, I think it was you and Coach Eric's, or was it Coach Eric or Coach Jake's podcast about, you guys kind of talked about the investment and everything like that, right? When you guys go into it, like it's an every weekend thing. But with that being said, for AU, you only get to see them, once, maybe 2 times a week max. You have to challenge all those guys that you have in your program, that those other days you don't see them. What are they doing? Are they still getting in the gym? They're still getting in the weight room. Are they still shooting, doing all those little things? Because they're just showing up for gameplay and they're going about it all wrong.
Good point. Coach Osborn, are you building those relationships and directing your players to specific teams?
I wouldn't say I'm outwardly going out to build relationships with them, but I'm not necessarily not building relationships either. We're at a point in high school basketball where it's year round, and we coach our guys while we're here, and we've got a lot of stuff on our plate. So it becomes more advising. We have typically a lot of kids that go through different programs because of different levels of play. And so through those different experiences, you have your own opinions on what fits for certain types of personalities or how kids need to grow as players. And we try to direct them to places where they can stretch themselves as players. I think it's when we finish our season in March and then they go to play with somebody else, I think it only improves their ability to play. They got to hear different voices. They have to hear different strategies. They have to learn different concepts. And so they're building on their individual development. And then when they come back with us, can you package all that stuff together and make our team better? So I wouldn't say necessarily go out and search for relationships. I'm friends with a lot of them. Our kids go and experience different clubs. And so I just think there's different fits for different personalities and different needs, but open to all of them. I just try to get kids where they can improve as players.
Very good point. Coach Gaff, thoughts?
Yeah, I'll echo Coach Osborne. I don't go out of my way, but basketball's a small world. As you bump into them, try and figure out who's got the best interest for players. I think in our area, we have a few programs that are selling dreams. They're really nightmares, though. Similar to Coach Osborne, we're just trying to direct our guys to the right fit. Because we want our guys to get better, and excited for our guys to go out and play all over Kingdom Come and experience different versions of basketball and different coaching styles. But ultimately, we want them to get better. And so if we don't think a program's going to help them get better, then we'll try and steer them towards programs we think are better. And I don't know about Coach Osborne, but most of our families already kind of have who they think are the best fits. So I would say we're probably just an advisory at this point when it comes to travel ball.
Point. Coach Johnson.
With everything that we do, I think relationships are tremendously important. And what Eric just said about in Coach Osborne about getting to know the coaches and is this the right fit for my player? are they going to be able to do for them to help us get better as a program? So I think it's a two-way street. I think, and again, I didn't really have this problem. The good players, the coaches came. I mean, hey, we want this player. But the ones that weren't quite as good, well, I had to work to get them in an AA program. A lot of the times right now, AAU, and again, I don't know how the rules changed since I've been out. That's inexpensive venture. There's a lot of people making a lot of money on AAU, and it's not the players. I had a player that couldn't afford to play, and he said, "Well, coach, I want to play here." Well, I called somebody up. Well, all of a sudden, they're paying $1,500. They didn't have the money to do that, and so to find a program that where they say we're really in it for the kid. Are you going to be in a position to where are you going to help fund that kid? The good ones, you don't have to worry about it. You know, they're getting this, they're getting that, and they're getting an awful lot of, good opportunities. So that's with you. The AAU is really viable. I mean, it is from a standpoint. College coaches can see him play multiple times, but there's also, are they in this AAU for the right reason? And every coach said that. Are they going to go here so Coach Izzo can see him play? That stupid high school coach, he didn't realize that I was good enough to play in the Big Ten. Why does this AAU coach say I can do that? Well, this is where I think there's some problems with the AAU, the pipe dream. But it's an opportunity to get better. It's an opportunity to play with different players, and it's an opportunity to travel. And whether we like it, whether we don't like it, it's here. And so just like the possible shot clock, just like, the NIL, you got to deal with it. And then you have to be able to implement your program.
Very good point. Coach Nannen.
No, we do not direct players to specific AAU programs in our Omaha metro area, but it is a strong encouragement. We provide all options in our area. And like other coaches have mentioned, we try to guide them to the best fit for them. Additionally, I think a big part of kind of the AAU scene is being selfish in your development. In the off season, we just want kids playing, expanding their game against different competition, which in turn should help our own program come fall and winter. So with all that being said, I mean, our program when we got here had literally 2 girls playing AAU basketball. And for our class here in Nebraska, that is extremely low. And after 2-3 years, we've got that up to 20 plus. So that's a big thing for our program. And it's something we do encourage, but you're right. It's more advisory as opposed to here are the direct programs we want to funnel to. And our program has players playing in multiple programs in and around the Omaha area. And to your point on relationships, like you guys said, I'm not going out of my way to all of those program directors and all of those individual coaches. But if I can get their number, I'm certainly going to text them and say, hey, what could player B be doing better this next weekend? Or, hey, here's what I noticed about player A in our off-season meeting. Could you help enforce this with your team? So I think it's good to support and go out of your way when you can, but certainly not overextending that invitation to build that relationship. But I do think it's important to attempt to build.
Coaches, thank you for listening to the United Basketball Plus Coaching and Leadership Podcast. For all things United Basketball Plus, visit us at our website, www.unitedbasketballplus.com, or on X at UnitedBBallPlus.
Very good point, Coach. I was getting at the building the relationship, and this is different from program to program and coach to coach. But defining player roles has become, I think, a big part of coaching now.
Plus.